two things before I get into my review of X-Men 97 Season 1. One, there is no way that I can talk about how awesome this show is without bringing in a few minor spoilers. Now, listen to it at your own discretion if you haven't seen the series, which is currently streaming on Disney Plus. But again, I cannot talk about this without throwing in some spoilers. And two, I am so tired of people throwing the word woke around. I mean, let's retire the word woke. Because everybody that's out there saying, X-Men 97 is going to be woke because this, that, and the third, needs to go back and pick up an X-Men comic book. Because a lot of the issues that people consider woke was a lot of the issues that the X-Men have been dealing with ever since they were introduced in the 1960s. And then go look at the titles that Chris Claremont wrote back in the day too, dealing with the X-Men and making them a household name. Now, with that being said, let me get into why this series kicks so much ass. And if you hear some paper rattling in the background, I had to write some notes because there's no way in the hell I could just remember off the top of my head all these key points. So here we go. X-Men 97 is definitely the best shit out there Marvel has done post Avengers Endgame. Now, there might be a few films, a few projects post Avengers Endgame, but for the most part, Marvel in phases 4 and 5 has been complete dog shit. There's no way around it. And X-Men 97 is definitely the facelift that Marvel needs. Now, whereas in a lot of the live-action Marvel projects, a lot of things are played for jokes, a bunch of goofy shit. But in X-Men 97, it has its laughs, it has its callbacks. But at the same time, every episode, for one, is always better than the previous one. Just when you think that they cannot outdo themselves with the last episode, the following episodes just further establish, yes, we can get better. And secondly, there was high stakes throughout this entire season. And I will get to some of those high stakes with some of the notes that I've written down. So, not in any particular order, let me cover some key points. One, the X-Men are back. I'm just saying, they are back. Two, Charles Xavier, leaving Magneto in charge. For anyone who watched the original animated series and you saw that, well, Charles is dead. But then when you get to the end of episode 1 of 97, you go, he left everything to Magneto. So, of course, that doesn't sit well with everybody. But Charles had more faith in Magneto than he did in Scott and Jean, because he wanted Scott and Jean to, be married, go live happily ever after, all the other good crap. Which brings me to my next point. The Jean Grey that Scott has been with has been a clone this whole time, thanks in part into that asshole named Mr. Sinister, who is still starting shit with the X-Men. I mean, come episode 3, he captures their son and pretty much puts a virus on him. And of course, for anybody who reads the comics, you know that baby gets sent to the future. And of course, that baby is Nathan, who is in turn Cable. Now, come episode 4, we did have ourselves a little slice of life episode with the Motendo portion of episode 4. Already did a video on that. Feel free to go back and look at it. But then, with every slice of life episode or good time that we have, we got to crank it up a notch. Because when we got to episode 5 was definitely a game changer that shifted the whole dynamic all the way to the season finale. And it quickly reminded us, especially people my age that grew up watching X-Men 97, that this, guess what? If our original audience grew up, it's time that this show grows up too. And episode 5, remember it, is the equivalent to season 3's Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. Shit, I know I said that wrong, but whatever. Season 3 of Game of Thrones, a Red Wedding, it's the equivalent of that. Because I was not expected to see mutants get evaporated, eviscerated the way they did. And to top it all off, they ended up killing off a fan favorite in Gambit. That really hurt me a lot. I mean, growing up, watching the series, that hurt me tons. I know it hurt a lot of people that grew up watching the show and took them by surprise. Of course, Storm loses her powers, but eventually she gets them back after overcoming her fears. Then, of course, there's the aftermath of the Genosha massacre. And I'm sorry for stumbling over my words because this show just hit it on all cylinders for me. You can tell by the excitement in my voice. I mean, then we got Rogue in episode 6, like literally going quote unquote rogue to avenge Gambit. I mean, she really went off the rails. The fact that Storm and Magneto were being referred to as Omega level mutants, that's a plus. Yeah, other major characters being killed off, like Gyrick, who is, anybody who knows who Gyrick is, know that he's part of the Friends of Humanity. He hates mutants. But to see him get killed off, that just lets you know that this show wasn't messing around. And let's also talk about Magneto's classic one-liners. Whoever wrote Magneto's dialogue deserves a raise because no matter what anybody told this man, he always had a quippy comeback. Like in episode 5, when Val Cooper tells him on Genosha how most people would elect a terrorist to be their leader. And he snaps back on her and says, yet most countries allow their leaders to be terrorists. I said, nothing but bars. And then in a later episode, he says how humans or people don't want to be better. They're already the best at everything. Best tribes, best faith. They even fight over who's the best victim. And I'm going, man, whoever wrote them scripts, give them a damn raise right now. And this is who the live action Marvel Cinematic Universe needs to hire and not have all these goofy ass lines that they've been having thus far in their films. Then you have Bastion. He was an awesome villain. It made it real easy to hate this guy. I mean, Bastion was such a villain that you had other villains in Dr. Doom and and Baron Zemo telling this man, hey, look, whatever plan you got going on, we don't want no part of that shit. We staying out of it. All the X-Men had their moment to shine. I mean, for anybody who ever laughed at Cyclops saying he was lame, episode 1 showed Cyclops being a badass. Again, I already mentioned Magneto and Storm using their powers, showing how they are Omega level mutants. I mean, Jubilee, she grew up. You got Morph. The way how Morph was turning into other characters and using their abilities, my God, awesome. Nightcrawler using his teleportation to kick ass. And Wolverine using those claws to slice and dice people and stab through and impale folks. I'm like, it's about time they had him doing that instead of like scratching people and making them say ouch. So kudos to that. The cameos. Too many cameos in here to name. All of the cameos was on point in here. Go and watch this, and you will see what I'm talking about. And speaking of cameos, there is a very important Easter egg that answers a decades-long question, and it relates to Spider-Man, the animated series. Don't believe me? Go watch it. It's all over the internet. Then you had in one episode where Magneto told Charles to shut up. Not gonna lie to you, I'm one of the few guys out there that agree with Magneto. I mean, I'm agreeing with Charles being optimistic, but Magneto was being realistic. No matter all the good in the world that you try to do as one of the quote-unquote good ones, humanity will still hate you because you're different. Which leads me into Val Cooper again. The only human on planet Earth that came to the realization that Magneto was right this whole time because he saw people for who they were, and they were never going to change nor be better. Then, when Magneto decided to declare war on mankind, President Kelly had the Magneto protocols ready for him. And I'm going, so your protocols was to shoot missiles at somebody in outer space in an asteroid that could crash land on Earth and kill everybody? Even other heroes such as T'Chaka, King T'Chaka of Wakanda, and Captain America was telling President Kelly, this ain't a good idea at all. I mean, I understand you have your protocols, but if this man shut down the whole world and you're going to shoot missiles at him and missiles are made of metal and he can control metal, bro, what is you thinking? And the way how season 2 ends, let me just say that the apocalypse is coming. And I cannot wait for season 2. I mean, damn. I'm sorry to be as long-winded. This is one of my longer videos of reviews I've done. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody out there listening to this, but it was just entirely too damn much going on with this series that I just had to just make notes of. I mean, I just cannot contain myself on how very well executed this season was. And moving forward with seasons 2 and beyond, I really hope they keep that momentum. Now, understand behind the scenes, Bo DeMaio was fired. But I really hope whoever made that decision, I really hope they did that for the best. Because in my opinion, if you had this guy putting this show together with the dialogue and being in charge of it, Disney needs to swallow their pride and bring him back. Because you know what? Bo DeMaio gave us a banger in X-Men 97, currently streaming on Disney+. And if you haven't seen it, damn it, go watch it. And if you have seen it, god damn it, go watch it again. Because I will rewatch every episode from beginning to the end until we get season 2. And that's my thoughts. That's my opinion. Just saying. Now go watch X-Men 97, goddammit.